Let us execute an immediate, sweeping, analytical vector shift away from the shadow-drenched underworld penthouses, hyper-monitored mafia financial ledgers, and toxic syndicate enforcer dynamics, and dive directly into the mist-shrouded, calculation-heavy tracking grids of small-town police procedurals, complex criminal profiling matrices, and the deeply protective world of law enforcement assets, unearthing dark regional secrets. We are crossing the threshold directly into the damp, timber-lined local sheriff departments, exclusive coastal tracking nodes, and the lethal analytical parameters of a highly intense, cold case murder matrix with The Girl in Town, the exceptional, pulse-pounding introductory structural deployment anchoring the globally dominant, chart-topping Chesapeake Valley Mystery Series by the absolute undisputed sovereign of small-town law enforcement friction, psychological puzzle box pacing, and high-velocity investigative tension, Elle Gray. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroad where a fierce, underestimated female detective asset running a strict survival loop, a complex, dangerously territorial local tracking ecosystem, and an absolute defense of a lawman's personal sovereignty metrics collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn mystery thrillers where a targeted, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of municipal police corruption, forced precinct alignment schedules, and a deadly ring of active administrative gaslighting while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised small-town law enforcement ecosystem where an analytical mind uses deep forensic profiling, calculated investigative boundaries, and absolute mental stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory killer syndicate, and where the author utilizes an incandescent seasoned detective hunting a serial predator in a hostile town diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits, this book is engineered to lock you in. Gray completely dominates the small-town procedural meets psychological thriller dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating institutional paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs like Melinda Lee, Kendra Elliott, Lisa Regan, and Robert Dugoni, while treating realistic crime scene logistics, complex relationship alignment structures, and protective law enforcement tradecraft grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central law enforcement couple, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of massive media scrutiny, deep-seated precinct family rivalries, and a hyper-visible targeting profile by the county's ruling political capos. Behind their rigorous field operation footprints and tense local dispatch logs lies an intricate matrix of hidden bureaucratic allegiances, deeply buried personal secrets, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Our central female protagonist's collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight behind a lifetime of outrunning exploitation, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from rival investigators, parsing complex behavioral shifts from her powerful, cold-eyed local tracking partner, and shielding her vulnerable personal autonomy nodes from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless institutional or criminal cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter, as the investigation's local forensic faces enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier, a series of suspicious administrative sabotage attempts, targeted political setups, and calculation-heavy wilderness ambushes threaten to permanently eliminate her from the active detective roster. The official diagnostic metrics of the county tracking centers flash white-hot when her joint public operations and defensive movements reveal that her presence is radically, impossibly altering the community's historical balance of power. The standard boundaries of routine local rivalries and peaceful municipal protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active, invisible war across the valley, where deceptive founding dynasties, highly manipulative local elders, and a calculation-heavy underground syndicate launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their survival data stream. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival war turns completely active, transforming the exclusive local town hall events, dark country backroads, and private fortified station houses into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective law enforcement protagonist is forced to deploy his massive intuitive tradecraft, environmental mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to repair his perimeter and earn her true trust before the next small-town gossip realignment permanently deletes his progress.
When deceptive romantic red herrings, corrupted financial ledgers, and calculation-heavy roadside ambushes launch aggressive plays to delete her path, her survival instincts engage her final deployment tracks. Every midnight digital excavation, every silent choice to stand off against an arrogant county sheriff behind standard security barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the local elite's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Gray reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial setup or managing a forced partnership. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of institutional hierarchy and small-town supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective web of absolute loyalty around their union, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that historical emotional hazards have tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient heroine must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a small-town police procedural, forensic detective suspense, local crime dynasty drama, and high-velocity contemporary mystery noir masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one-whispered confession triggers a fatal forest showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active precinct tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes interrogation confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite lead detective has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Gray writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the cold metallic rack of a weapon, the oppressive, heavy atmosphere of a private evidence vault before a major regional arrest operation, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished leather, expensive coffee, dark marsh water, old paper records, rain-slicked country roads, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this introductory franchise entry into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes regional dynamics and genuine investigative power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and criminal underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute, jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. The Girl in Town is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary mystery and contemporary police suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the case.